Tuesday, voters go to the polls in an historic primary. For the first time in decades, we have both Republican and Democratic primaries in the race for the U.S. Senate. And we are joined today by Republican Christopher Shays. And Congressman Shays, good to see you back here on the program. Last time you were on here, you said you weren't worried about the money, that it would come in eventually, but it really hasn't to the extent that you were hoping. Why is that?
I think that some people don't think I can beat Linda McMahon, and some people don't think, even if I won, that we can beat the Democrat, and they're dead wrong on both accounts.
What kind of evidence do you have to bolster your argument that you're the better candidate than Linda McMahon in the general election?
Experience, knowledge, the guts I've shown, my track record. We ran into someone who said, I don't want you running the WWE, and I don't want Linda McMahon down in Washington. And I think that summarizes it.
What's your strategy to win on the 14th?
Get out more votes than she gets out on the 14th. I'm not being funny. I was in a tough race in 1974 when I ran as a state rep. The polls said I couldn't win. I won as one of only 35 Republicans out of 151 who won in the State House. In 1987, I was running against two very wealthy individuals, fine people, but very wealthy. And the Washington Post said I wasn't even a factor in the primary. And I won it. And so, I think a lot of people may be very surprised on August 14th. The key is who comes out to vote in a primary on August 14th, the middle of the summer.
The most recent poll shows you well behind. Did you see any silver lining in those numbers at all? Because they were pretty bleak. What I saw, it was a poll taken in the summer. What I need to emphasize is, would I have liked it to have been the reverse? Absolutely. But in the end, I wouldn't have been any more confident, because the key is who comes out to vote. I think her support is broader than mine, obviously, but thin as paper. And I think the people that are supporting me know the job I can do. They don't want Linda McMahon down in Washington any more than they want Hugh Hefner down there. Why do you think she's ahead in the polls?
Well, she did spend $60 million so far.
So you think it's the money?
No, hello. $60 million on TV every day, on radio every day, but that doesn't win a primary. That may, have some people around the state say, oh, I like this grandmother, because that's the way she's portraying herself. But in the end, that's not going to help her win on Election Day. And the key thing is, I can win the race in November. I can beat Chris Murphy, and she can't. The polls pointed out, the very polls you're citing, that she has a 48% unfavorable rating. That's just 2 points shy of 50%. She can't win the general election. I can. If I win the general election, think of the message. It shows that 1.5 million trumps 60 million. It shows you can't buy an election. It shows that someone with the experience and the knowledge and, frankly, the track record can get elected in spite of someone spending $65 million.
You've made some pretty harsh attacks against Mrs. McMahon recently. I believe you called her clueless to a reporter.
Well, you know what? It's stunning to me that after being in this race for 3 years, she has no knowledge of the issues other than that she says she's a job creator. She constantly comes back and says she's a job creator. And with all due respect, as I mentioned, Hugh Hefner is a job creator. She doesn't seem to know the issues, and yet she had 3 years to study them. So it's hard to respect someone who doesn't care enough to know the issues. She's not willing to sit down before an editorial board and be questioned. She might be willing to be questioned with you for 10 minutes, but would she be willing to sit down for an hour and a half and be questioned so you could get into the second layer of her knowledge? No way.
Do you think that some of these editorial boards are biased?
I don't understand the question. Biased which way? You mean that they're going to ask questions of her?
No, but they have a leaning.
Well, I actually think
because there's been, some of the McMahon people say that that's true.
I think that I will get a number of editorial support. So I'd like to think
you're endorsed by the Hartford Courant,
right, and a few other papers. But the point is, you're missing the point that I'm trying to make that I think is so important. She is not respecting the democratic process. She's not willing to debate, except 2 debates. She's not willing to meet before editorial boards. She's not willing to meet with the press unless it's a staged event. I don't think she can get away with that in the general election. And the reason she's not willing to meet is that she's not comfortable with the issues.
You were talking about wanting to get out the vote on the primary day. What is your field operation like in terms of getting people to the polls?
You know what I want to tell you? Why I'm running for Congress. Why I'm running for the United States Senate. I'm running because I want my country back. I'm running because I want to restore the American dream. I want people back working. I want to get our country's financial house in order. I want us to use the energy we have in this country that can help grow this economy. I want to simplify our tax code. I want to reduce the corporate rate so we get that capital coming back to the United States. I want us to have a zero-based budget concept when it comes to regulations. That's why I'm running. That's why I think people will elect me.
Should she win the primary, will you support her?
If she wins the primary, I am going to support the verdict of the American people. And I would expect that she would do the same thing if I win this election. Now, am I happy that she's on two lines? She says she's a Republican. She's running as an independent as well. I'm going to be out campaigning for Republicans who are on the Republican line. Those are the Republicans I'm going to be out campaigning for.
Isn't it the same, though, if the Democrats are also on the working party's line?
Why?
Well, they get two lines on the ballot.
Yeah, but I'm going to be running against Chris Murphy for the very line. The Workers' Party, what does that tell me about Chris Murphy? It tells me that he's a pretty liberal Democrat that is so liberal that that party supports him. So I think it's a disadvantage for him to be on that line, not a positive. I think that whatever votes he gets there, I'll get more votes coming to me because they don't want any part of a guy who's on the Working Party.
So you said that if she wins, you'll support?
I will vote for the candidate who wins.
Would you campaign for her?
I will actively campaign for candidates who are on the Republican line, not on two lines.
Will it be difficult for, let's say, Mrs. McMahon wins the primary, for you to go out there and then tell people to vote for her, even though you've already said she can't win?
I said I'd vote for her. But you know what? Will you be asking her the same question, spending the whole time saying if you lose, if you lose, if you lose, if you lose?
I certainly would ask her that same question.
Well, no, I think you won't. I think that you'll spend time talking about other issues. The bottom line for me is I think I can win this election. I think I can make a huge difference. I think I can bring my experience and my knowledge and my guts to bear to get our country back on track and our fellow Americans back to work. That's why I'm running.
How difficult has it been without the resources?
It's been very difficult because this wouldn't even be a close race if I had more money.
And you think money is the only issue?
You know what, it's not what Linda McMahon spends, it's what I spend in the end. But I need to spend a minimal amount. And I've raised less money than what we raised $1.5 million. I thought the minimum would be $2 million. We're on TV, we're not on this station, but we're on Fox. And we're trying to reach out to the voters. There are still 30% of the voters who don't know who I am. But the amazing thing is they know who Linda McMahon is, and 48% of them don't like her. And they're not going to vote for her in the general election. A Senate race is a terrible thing to waste. Republicans haven't had this seat in 30 years.
If you do win, will the money start to roll in, do you believe?
If I win, I think I'm Scott Brown. You know, I might vote differently than Scott Brown, but this becomes a national race, and I know that for a fact. I've had the senatorial committee tell me, if you win, Chris, you were going to be in there with all the support you can imagine. I've had the chamber say the same thing. I've had various groups say, Chris, if you win this primary, we'll be thrilled, and we'll be there to help you.
Why do you think Mrs. McMahon's already attacking Chris Murphy in ads?
Because she doesn't want people to know there's a primary on August 14th. But she is attacking me and all the mail she's sending. See, you're seeing what she says publicly. You're not looking at all the mail pieces that are totally distorting my record. I've never sent out any mail piece attacking any of my candidates in the entire time that I've been a candidate for any office. I've never had a TV ad or a radio ad criticizing my opponent. I am going to criticize my opponent when we have a debate, and then they can answer it.
As you go out there and in campaign in these final 10 days, what is the #1 message that you tell the voters? Is it that you're more electable than she is, or is there something else as well? Your experience?
Yeah, I tell them this. I want to restore the American dream. The American dream is that every generation is better than the previous generation. To do that, we need to get back to normal. Normal is full employment. Normal is 4% growth. If we grow at 4% like we did for 200 years, your economy doubles every 18 years. That's the promise of America. That's normal. And we have kids growing up today who think they won't be as well off as their parents. That's baloney. We've got to get back to normal. We've got to get our country's financial house in order. We've got to use the energy resources we have in this country. We've got to simplify our tax code. We've got to get rid of lots of regulations. And if we do that, we'll be back to 4% growth, and our fellow Americans will be back to work, and we will be able to sustain Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Former Congressman Christopher Shays, former 4th District Congressman, best of luck on August 14th, Republican for Senate.
Are you going to vote for me?
I don't live... I don't vote in these primaries.
Oh, come on.
Thanks for being on. We appreciate it. Our flashback coming up next. If you want to comment on today's programs, today's guest, rather, you can...
You're flustered.
You can make a comment on my blog, The Hartfordite, on WFSB.com. We'll be right back.
I don't want you to.